Stop everything you're doing right now, because what I'm about to tell you goes against every piece of dating advice you've ever heard. The women who have men completely obsessed with them aren't the ones sending sweet good morning texts or telling him how much they care. They're using 5 specific words that create an almost addictive response in his brain. And when I tell you what these words are, you're going to think I've lost my mind. But stick with me, because once you understand the psychology behind why they work, you'll never struggle to get a man's attention again. Here's the brutal truth no one wants to admit. Everything you've been taught about texting men is wrong. Being available, being sweet, being the good girl who always responds quickly, that's exactly how you become the woman he takes for granted. While you're pouring your heart out in long messages, the woman he's actually thinking about just sent him something that made his pulse quicken and his mind race with questions. These 5 words I'm about to share with you don't sound romantic. They don't sound sweet. They sound almost dangerous. And that's exactly why they work. Because while you've been trying to make him feel comfortable, the women who drive men crazy make them feel something much more powerful. They make them feel alive. I've watched this happen over and over again. A woman will come to me frustrated because the guy she likes seems distant, uninterested, or like he's losing feelings. She shows me their text conversations and I immediately see the problem. Her messages are predictable, safe, and honestly a little boring. Then I teach her these 5 words. She uses them once, just once, and suddenly he's double texting her, making plans and acting like a completely different person. But here's what makes this so powerful. He doesn't know why he's suddenly so interested. It's not a conscious decision. These words trigger something deep in the male brain that creates an almost magnetic pull toward you. It's the same psychological mechanism that makes him obsess over his favorite sports team or stay up all night playing video games. Pure, unfiltered desire. And the best part, you don't have to change who you are or play games or be someone you're not. You just have to understand how his mind actually works and speak his emotional language. Because right now you're speaking a language he doesn't understand, and that's why you're not getting the response you want. So if you've ever sent a heartfelt text and gotten back something short and cold, if you've ever felt like you're always the one initiating conversations, if you've ever wondered why he seems less interested the more you show you care, then pay attention, because what you're about to learn will change everything. Before I reveal the first word, you need to understand why traditional texting advice fails so badly. Because once you see how a man's brain actually processes your messages, you'll understand why these 5 words are so incredibly effective. Here's something most people don't realize. Men and women's brains are wired completely differently when it comes to communication and attraction. When you send him a long text explaining your feelings, you're doing what would make you feel loved and connected. But his brain doesn't work the same way yours does. A man's brain is constantly scanning for 2 things: challenge and reward. If something feels too easy or too predictable, his interest drops immediately. It's not personal. It's not because he doesn't like you. It's because his brain is literally designed to pursue things that feel slightly out of reach. Think about every man you know who's completely obsessed with something. Maybe it's his career, maybe it's a hobby, maybe it's a sport. What do all these things have in common? They're challenging. They require effort. They don't give him everything he wants immediately. And that's exactly what keeps him coming back for more. But when you text him things like, "I had such a great time with you," or "you make me so happy," or "I can't wait to see you again," you're removing all the challenge. You're handing him the reward without making him work for it. And while that might feel loving to you, to his brain, it registers as boring. That's where these 5 words come in. They're designed to activate what psychologists call the reward anticipation system. This is the same brain mechanism that makes gambling addictive, that makes people binge watch TV shows, and that makes him check his phone obsessively when he's really interested in someone. When you use these words correctly, his brain starts releasing dopamine, the chemical responsible for desire and motivation. But here's the key. The dopamine isn't released when he gets what he wants. It's released when he's anticipating getting what he wants. That anticipation is what creates the obsession. Most women accidentally kill this anticipation by being too available, too predictable, and too easy to read. They think they're being loving, but they're actually being boring. The women who drive men crazy understand that a little mystery, a little challenge, and a little unpredictability are the ingredients that keep his brain craving more. Now that you understand the psychology behind why this works, you're ready for the first word. And I promise you, when you see how simple it is, you're going to be amazed at how powerful it can be. All right, here's the first word that can completely change how he responds to your texts. Maybe. Now, I know what you're thinking. How can one word be so powerful? But here's what happens when you use maybe in your texts. You create uncertainty. And uncertainty is like rocket fuel for a man's interest. See, when you give him a definitive answer about anything, his brain can relax. The question is answered, the mystery is solved, and his attention can move on to something else. But when you say maybe, you leave him hanging. His brain can't rest until it gets a clear answer, so he keeps thinking about you. For example, instead of saying, yes, I'd love to see you Friday, you might say, maybe Friday could work. Same message, completely different effect. The first response closes the loop in his mind. The second one leaves it wide open, creating a tension that his brain wants to resolve. Or instead of, I had fun tonight, try, maybe tonight was more fun than I expected. Do you feel the difference? The first statement is nice but forgettable. The second one makes him wonder what you expected, why you weren't sure, and what exactly made it better than that. But timing is everything with this word. You can't use maybe all the time or it loses its power. The key is to use it when he's asking you something or when you want to create a little intrigue around a situation. It works best when there's already some connection between you, but things feel a little predictable or flat. Here's why maybe is so effective. Men are natural problem solvers. When you present them with uncertainty, their brain immediately starts trying to figure out how to get a definitive answer. And the only way to get that answer is to engage more with you. So without even realizing it, he starts chasing the clarity that only you can provide. But maybe is just the beginning. It creates curios. IT, but the next word actually makes him feel something much stronger. It taps into one of the most powerful drives in the male psyche, and when you combine it with maybe, the effect is almost irresistible. The second word is unless. This little word is psychological dynamite because it implies that there's a condition, a challenge, or something he needs to do to change the situation. And remember, men are wired to respond to challenges. When you say unless, you're basically telling his brain that there's a game to be won. And if he plays it right, he gets the prize. For example, I probably can't make it tonight unless, and then you pause or change the subject. His mind immediately starts trying to figure out what comes after that unless. What does he need to do? How can he influence the outcome? Or you might say something like, I was going to stay in tonight unless something interesting comes up. Again, you're creating a challenge. You're saying that the current plan can change, but only under the right circumstances. And naturally, he starts thinking about how he can be those right circumstances. This works because unless activates what psychologists call the scarcity principle. It suggests that something good is available, but only if certain conditions are met. And when something feels scarce or conditional, it automatically becomes more valuable in our minds. But here's the important part. You're not being manipulative or playing games. You're simply communicating in a way that his brain naturally responds to. Instead of making everything easy and predictable, you're adding just enough challenge to keep his interest sharp. When you combine maybe and unless in your texting, something powerful happens. Maybe creates curiosity and unless creates motivation. His brain starts working overtime trying to figure out how to turn that maybe into a yes and how to meet whatever condition comes after unless. But we're just getting started. The third word takes this psychological effect and amplifies it 10 times over. This word taps into one of the deepest male drives and makes him feel like he needs to prove himself to you. The third word is bet. This might surprise you, but bet is one of the most powerful words you can use with a man because it triggers his competitive instincts immediately. The moment you say bet, his brain switches into challenge mode. You might text something like, bet you can't guess what happened to me today, or bet you're not even thinking about me right now, or I bet you say that to all the girls. Each of these creates an immediate challenge that his brain wants to respond to. Here's what's happening psychologically. When you use bet, you're essentially daring him. And men are hardwired to respond to dares. It doesn't matter if it's a serious challenge or a playful one. The word bet activates the same competitive drive that makes him want to win at sports, succeed at work, or prove himself in any situation. But there are others. Is another layer to why bet works so well. It implies that you have some doubt about his abilities or his feelings, and that doubt creates an immediate need in him to prove you wrong. If you say, bet you can't make me laugh right now, he's going to try to make you laugh. If you say, bet you're too busy to call me, he's probably going to call you. The beauty of bet is that it feels playful and fun, not demanding or needy. You're not asking him to do something, you're challenging him to do it. And that challenge makes all the difference in how his brain responds. Now, when you start combining these three words, the effect becomes incredibly powerful. Maybe I'll see you this weekend, unless you're too busy. I bet you have plans already anyway. Do you see how that works? You've created curiosity with maybe, motivation with unless, and challenge with bet. His brain is now fully engaged and working to figure out how to change your mind. But we still have two more words to go, and these final two words are what lock in his obsession and make him unable to get you off his mind. The fourth word is wonder. This word is special because it makes him think about your thoughts, and when he's thinking about your thoughts, he's thinking about you. It creates what psychologists call a recursive loop in his mind. When you text something like, I wonder what you're really thinking right now, or I wonder if you remember what you said to me, you're planting a seed in his mind that grows into genuine curiosity about what's going on in your head. Here's why this is so powerful. Most people are primarily focused on themselves and their own thoughts. But when someone makes you wonder what they're thinking, it shifts your attention to them. And attention is the currency of attraction. Wonder also implies depth. It suggests that you have complex thoughts and feelings that aren't immediately obvious. This creates mystery, and mystery is one of the strongest attraction triggers for men. When he feels like he hasn't quite figured you out yet, he becomes more invested in the interaction. You might say, I wonder why you chose to text me right now, or makes me wonder what you're not telling me. Each of these statements makes him pause and actually think about his motivations and feelings. And the more he thinks about his feelings in relation to you, the stronger those feelings become. The fifth and final word brings everything together and creates an almost irresistible pull. This word is might. Might is powerful because it suggests possibility without certainty. It leaves room for his imagination to fill in the blanks, and his imagination will always create something more exciting than reality. Instead of saying, I want to see you, try I might want to see you. Instead of I like you, try I might be starting to like you. The uncertainty created by might makes him work harder to understand your true feelings. Might also gives you plausible deniability. You're not making definitive statements that lock you into a position. You're expressing possibilities, which feels safer and more mysterious at the same time. When you combine all five words strategically, they create a perfect ECT storm of psychological triggers. Maybe I might see you this weekend unless something better comes up. I bet you wonder what I'm really thinking right now. That single text hits curiosity, challenge, competition, mystery, and uncertainty all at once. His brain has no choice but to engage because you've activated multiple psychological drives simultaneously. But here's the crucial part. These words only work if you avoid the common texting mistakes that kill attraction instantly. And I'm about to show you exactly what those mistakes are and how to avoid them. The biggest mistake women make is overusing these words. If every text contains maybe or bet or wonder, they lose their power completely. These words work because of contrast. They stand out against your normal communication pattern. The second mistake is using them when he's already chasing you hard. If he's already texting you constantly and making lots of effort, you don't need these trigger words. Save them for when his interest seems to be cooling off or when you want to reignite the spark. The third mistake is following up these words with long explanations. If you text, "I bet you're not thinking about me," and he responds, don't immediately send 3 more messages explaining what you meant. Let the tension sit. Let him work to figure it out. The fourth mistake is using these words when you're upset or angry. They work best when they come from a playful, confident place, not from insecurity or frustration. If you're feeling emotional, wait until you're in a better headspace before using these techniques. The final mistake is not understanding timing. These words work best when dropped into conversations at unexpected moments, not as responses to serious topics or during emotional discussions. When you avoid these mistakes and use these 5 words strategically, something amazing happens. You stop being the woman who chases and start being the woman who's chased. You stop wondering where you stand and start having him worry about where he stands with you. But knowing the words is only half the battle. The real secret is understanding how to keep him hooked long term, how to maintain that attraction and interest even after you've been together for months or years. And that's what I'm going to show you next. Here's what most people don't understand about long-term attraction. It's not built on grand gestures or constant communication. It's built on psychological variety and emotional unpredictability. The couples who stay obsessed with each other for years are the ones who never become completely predictable to each other. These 5 words are just the beginning of understanding how to create that unpredictability. When you know how to strategically create curiosity, challenge, and mystery, you become the woman he can't figure out, can't forget, and can't resist. The key is to cycle through different emotional experiences. Sometimes you're the woman who challenges him with bet. Sometimes you're the mysterious one who makes him wonder. Sometimes you're the unpredictable one who keeps him guessing with maybe and unless and might. This variety keeps his brain engaged because he never knows which versions of you he's going to get. And that uncertainty is what keeps the dopamine flowing and the attraction alive. So here's what I want you to do. Pick one of these 5 words and try it in your next conversation with him. Don't overthink it. Don't force it. Just find a natural way to work it into your communication and watch how his energy changes. Then come back and let me know in the comments what happened. I want to hear your success stories because I know that when you start using these words correctly, the results are going to amaze you. Remember, you have the power to influence how men respond to you just by understanding how their minds work. These 5 words are your key to unlocking that power and finally getting the love and attention you deserve. If this video helped you, hit that like button, subscribe for more dating psychology secrets, and turn on notifications so you never miss content that could change your love life forever. Because when you know how to speak directly to a man's emotional brain, everything becomes possible.